Navigation dropdowns are often used to create smaller menu bars on different pages or sections of a website. But the native Wix menu widget is not customizable in this way. I'm Coach Nayeli. Let me show you a speedy solution on how to make this totally codable. By creating a customized menu bar using a drop-down element, you have the freedom to add as many or as little navigation options for your website visitors. This allows you to create all the regular and dynamic Wix pages that you need and still have the ability to organize them and display them in smaller options. Let me show you how to prepare your drop-downs. To follow this tutorial, please visit totallycodable.com, go to the home page, scroll down just a bit, and look for the navigation using drop-downs tutorial. Click on the button to open up the example page and follow along with me. Something important that you need to know is that you can add your drop-down options in a couple of different ways. The first way is my favorite way, and it's actually very convenient. You can add the options by clicking on the settings and managing the choices. Let me show you in the editor. You would select your drop-down, click on Manage Choices, and then manually enter each one. If it was me, I would add the label as the regular text, and then I would edit the value and insert either a partial URL or a complete URL. This would make it very easy to create the code that will grab the value from the dropdown and then redirect the person to that specific URL value that we retrieved. The second way to add the options is to connect it directly to the data set. But let me show you what happens when we do it this way. Back in the example page, I'm going to click on this first test dropdown, and this one has been connected through a data set and connected to the value of a URL text. Once I click on that, some partial URL text appears. Why does this happen? Unfortunately, Wix does not allow us to select separate values for the dropdown, so this is what the dataset options would look like. You would toggle this on and then select your dataset, and from the dataset you're allowed to choose one field. This field then becomes the label and the value. Now I just showed you my favorite way of connecting it, which is manually through the settings. I labeled the options as the text and then I added the value as the URL. This is a live dropdown, so if I were to select this dropdown and click on something, it would redirect me to that specific page. Let's hit the back button and go back. Let's take a look at the code. I'm going to show you the different methods on how to get this code working for you. The first method is by adding two data sets to the page. One data set will be used as your list, and the second data set will be used to filter, so that way we can match one item, filter it down to one result, and that one result will grab the URL and then redirect the person there. So, if you notice here, the first data set that I added in the example is called toFilter, and I connected it to my Wix collection. The second data set, I labeled it for list, and I connected it to the exact same collection. After I created my two data sets, I'm going to click on the actual drop-down, click on the database icon, toggle on the list, and select my for list data set. This way I can select the field that I want to display in the drop-down. For my example, I selected the title field. So I'm going to be searching by a title. Once I match that title to my second data set, I'll be able to grab that URL. For my example, I labeled my dropdown to trigger filter. Now, the field where you hold your URL information may be different. So I've written the code in a couple of different ways to make sure that you use the correct one depending on what type of field you have in your database. So you could possibly have a text or URL field. This one happens to be a text. but in the text field, I've actually added my full URL. And if you have this type of field, then make sure to use this code right here. You would need to change the name of the dropdown, the name of the filter database, and your field key for that column. For example, I'm searching by title, and my field is called title. After this, it'll look for any matching titles in my second data set, and then grab that item, return the URL, and redirect the person to that URL. On line 17 of my code, it says .url. This is the name of my field key up here, so make sure you change it to match yours. Now, if your URL is a Wix dynamic ending, meaning it has this gray area with a little lock on top that cannot be modified, then you're going to use this field key right here. It's a bit different. It has dashes, so the code will be different. This is the code that you will use. Change the same information, the name of the dropdowns, the name of the filter, data set, your title field key if you're searching for a different field, and this is where you would put your link field key for that dynamic field. Now that first method that we just went over was using two different data sets and using the filter function. This second method is using the query function. Now, this is assuming that you're using the title to perform the query, but regardless if you connected your dropdown by manually adding your title label and title value, or if you connected it through a data set through your title field, you can use this code. Again, if you have a text or URL field to hold the URL information, you would use this format. We're performing a query, meaning we're going to write the name of our collection. So mine is called Wix, and I'm searching for the title. So this is where you would change that information. You still have to change or make sure that you have the correct drop-down name here. And then at the very bottom, on line 17, where it says .url, you would just change it to your field key to make sure it matches your database collection. If you're using the Wix dynamic ending, then you would use this example code. Switch out the same information, the drop-downs, the name of your collection, the field key instead of title, and your link key down here. Now, my ultimate favorite, which is the example that I showed you on the live page, is manually adding the label with the text title and the value as the URL ending, because in the end, the code is only 8 lines long, super duper short. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to query or filter. All you have to do is change the name of the dropdown, and it's done. Pick the method that works best for you. You don't have to pick my favorite just because I like it the best or because it has the shortest amount of code. Thanks for watching and for subscribing to my channel. I'm Code Queen Ayeli, and this was another totally codable moment.